Hey everybody, I'm here with Jovon Johnson. Played in the Big 33 game. He was a freshman All-American at Iowa University, 4-year starter. He was 3 times All Big Ten. He had a pro career from 2000 to 2008, 2007 to 2018, partly in the NFL and a lot in Canada. He was a CFL All-Star years 2009, 2011. CFL East All-Star 2009, 2010, 11, 12, and 15. In 2007, he was a part of a team that won the Grey Cup Championship in Canada. And in 2011, he was the CFL's most outstanding defensive player. He was the first defensive back ever to get that in the Canadian League. What's up, Jovon? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Like to thank you for being here today, man. Taking the time. And that resume is really impressive, man. I was reading on it today. I'm like, wow, you lived a dream that a lot of people want to live. You want to talk about that a little bit, about just living that dream that most of us grew up wanting to live?
That for me, I understood at a young age that separating myself from certain individuals was going to help me attain the goals that I had dreamed of. When you set out a dream, you have to know how to get there, and you have to have a lot of people in your corner. A lot of things go your way. I was fortunate to have guys that I played with that pushed me to excel far beyond what I thought was real. And some great teammates, some great coaches, great mentors on and off the field, great teachers that pushed me in the classroom. A lot of people that, had expectations that I didn't even have for myself, that, if I would have just sat back and not wanted to make them proud, I wouldn't have attained the things that I attained. But I just made sure that I kept my head down and pushed forward, and, knew that every step of the way I had to go harder and harder. It was going to get harder for me and tougher for me, for every chapter, and it worked out just from my work ethic, attention to detail, just really the hunger inside of me, the fuel inside of me, taking adversity and turning it into fuel, right. And using that to fuel me to go further. So the dream definitely became a reality once I made it to the NFL. Small guy from Erie, Pennsylvania, that everybody said I was too small, couldn't run fast enough, couldn't jump high enough, et cetera, and I just kept proving them wrong every step of the way.
Jovon, I've been knowing you. I met you when you were, I believe, like maybe in 9th or 10th grade. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've always admired about you is that I tell people this all the time, that to me you always had a drive. You were able to be like one of the coolest kids in the school, but you never let that. Some kids have a tendency to they stick with a group, and instead of trying to separate to their potential, they stick with the potential of the group, and that group might not be really going to take them where they need to go. To me, you were able to still be cool with the group, but say, hey, I know the work I have to put in. Mm-hmm. How were you able to do that? Where'd that come from? That drive to do that?
Yeah, just like I said, at a young age, I had goals and aspirations that I wanted to accomplish. And if I had a friend who didn't share the same goal and aspirations, I knew then at a young age that, maybe we were going in 2 different directions, and I needed to separate myself, not from our friendship, but from what I wanted to do versus what they wanted to do, and not get myself caught up in any turmoil or BS that they might have endured. So, you just know who you hang around with. If they have the same goals and aspirations as you, then naturally they're going to push you to want to excel.
Right.
If they're pulling you back and reeling you in to go in a different direction, they're probably not really having your best interests at heart. So at a young age, I understood that, and it helped me shape myself around who I wanted to be friends with.
Great. So let's talk about how you grew up. Where did you grow up? Tell me about the neighborhood a little bit. Where you grew up at.
I grew up in the Harbor Homes in what people call the Holly, on East 18th Street.
What city is that in?
In Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Erie, Pennsylvania. All right.
So, single parent household. My mom was the only one there. Me and my younger brother, we shared the luxury of having my Uncle Derek Jordan there with us for most of the time. My mom worked 2 jobs. My dad wasn't around. My uncle, for me, was a mentor that I looked up to at a young age. He played basketball, was an outstanding athlete, but he also taught me at a young age the importance of academics and how I had to make sure I was taking care of business in the classroom because everything else could be taken away. And then as we grew up, my mom adopted 3 of my younger cousins that were taken away from their mom from foster care. They came in to live with us. So it was 5 of us children, 2 adults, and a 4-bedroom apartment. So, we had to make ends meet. Never knew what the next meal was going to be. But at the end of the day, whatever it was, we made it work. And we were happy to just have something to be able to eat and cherish. But I knew that I wanted to help my mom get out of those circumstances. I wanted to help my uncle, live out the dream that he had set for himself, being that he was a top athlete, but never got the opportunity to go to college because his mom passed at a young age, and he had to be there for us and take care of us. So he kind of, instead of living out his dream, he was living through us and helping us, attain what we wanted to attain. So every day was a struggle. Every day was a new chapter, a new, something that was going to come up that you had to overcome. And, we fought a lot, whether it be in the street with friends, family, whatever the case may be. We went down the wrong path a couple of times. They had to reel us back in. But the benefit was we had, what people call OGs that was sending us in the right direction and not pulling us in. And bringing us back to where the environment that we grew up in.
So you have some older guys, mainly probably your uncle and some other guys out there that they might have been into some stuff, but they saw greater in you. It was like they want to push you away from that into more positive stuff.
Anytime they see me on the street, they'd be like, "Hey, man, go to the gym, go to the football field, basketball court. You better than this. You don't need to be out here." Right. So it was just that constant, pushing me away from it that kept me away from it.
Right. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about your mom and because I know you said you raised your mom and your Uncle Derek. What are some things you learned from them? Because it seems like 2 key people in your life. What did you learn from them that still sticks with you today?
From my mom, I learned work ethic. Because she worked 2 jobs. She made ends meet for us. If there was something that needed to be done, she was there to get it done. And she showed me, every day you had to make sure that you was on top of taking care of business because, at the end of the day, she could have just sat at home and let us struggle. But instead, she went out to go get it. And that was one thing that I really took from her was her work ethic, her attention to detail, her willingness to make everybody around us better. And then with my uncle, I learned, that's where I learned the athletic side of it, the playing basketball, football, coming home from school, going to the table, getting my homework done before I went out to go play and things like that. Different characteristics, the sports thing, he taught me that always finish first, never allow somebody to beat me. And if somebody beat me, they was going to have to consistently do it because I wasn't going to finish second. So, whoever it was, they was going to always have to give me their best shot because I wasn't going to allow them to beat me more than once. Right.
So you was going to raise their level up. If they want to raise their level up, they ain't going to win, right?
No, I wasn't.
Right, because you ain't, right. So let's talk about, so as a youngster, youth, what are some sports you played? Was it just football or?
No, I grew up, I didn't actually start playing football until 8th grade. I played basketball growing up, played baseball, in the projects we raced daily. So, track and field, even though it wasn't track and field, we were still, running and challenging each other. So, but as the years went on, I did run track. Then I started playing football 8th grade through high school. So, I did a little bit of everything. I played soccer at the JFK, different skills for different sports, but they all taught me a lot about, being an athlete.
Awesome. So let's move forward to high school. So What was your high school sports career like? What sports did you play? What are some memories that you have of your high school sports career?
Yeah, my first 2 years of high school, I went to Erie East. Outstanding athletes. We had athletes all over the field, especially in football. But one thing I learned that no matter how good of an athlete you are, if you're not disciplined, if you're not on time, if you don't show up to practice and be present in the classroom, you will not accomplish anything. And we learned that as we went on, that no matter how good we were losing games because we couldn't play together. Guys get mad if they're not getting the ball. Guys get mad if the quarterback's not on time with the ball or whatever the case may be. Guys running different routes, wrong routes, and all that. So that was something that we had to deal with on a regular basis. Adversity. Even in school, the teachers didn't challenge us enough. Guys just kind of let the days pass by. And then as I transferred to Mercyhurst Prep, started to see a turn in the tide of teammates that wanted you to succeed. They wanted you to be better. They challenged you to be better. And guys that were disciplined. We won with guys that were far less talented than the guys we were playing against. But we won games just because of discipline and attention to detail. But that's how that goes.
So you saw a difference from one school to another as far as the mindset, the attitude,
Absolutely.
Different people. What advice do you have for high school athletes out there today, like in Erie or other places? What advice do you have for high school athletes?
I mean, one thing I will say to high school athletes is be present in the classroom. Having a standard of excellence is something that is going to carry you a lot further than any sport ever will. Being present in the classroom, sitting in the front, participating, being somebody that the teacher can count on, because that will help you in the long run when it comes to getting the grades that you want. A teacher is going to be a little bit more lenient with you if you have the C or D grade. They're going to give you that C if you need it because they feel like they can depend on you. Being disciplined, knowing what that means, being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. Don't surround yourself with people that are doing all the things that you shouldn't be doing. Because that's going to again hold you back from accomplishing the greatness that you can accomplish. Always be on time, be on time. Don't show up on time. 10 minutes, 15 minutes early is on time. Showing up 30 seconds before the bell ring or 30 seconds before practice start, you're late. Also having an attitude, confidence, being confident within yourself. Nobody can ever write the path that you want to write for you. You have to go out there and create the story you want to create. But it's one step at a time. The path will never be straight. Adversity is going to come up. Understanding how to fuel that or allow that to fuel you to go to the heights that you want to accomplish. Being a team player, in all walks of it. Family, friends, whatever it is, make sure that, you're showing the love and care for those people because those people are ultimately the people that can help you get to where you want to go. And just always be attentive to details, especially as an athlete. Details will carry you a lot further because, as the margin or as the years go on and you start to get the competition level starts to tighten, the details is what's going to set you apart.
Those small details.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so you had a great. You were at Mercyhurst 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
So you went to Mercyhurst Prep in Erie for 2 years. You ended up having a great career there. You played in the Big 33 game, which is a big all-star game. I believe, was it Ohio versus PA?
Ohio, yeah.
Okay, so you played in that, which is a great honor. When did was Iowa the only school that D1 schools looking? How did you get to Iowa? I know you went to Iowa.
So I had 2 Division I offers. I had one to Kent State, and then Iowa was the other one. Iowa offered me a week before signing day. They were actually recruiting my teammate Levon, and he committed to Wisconsin. And when they came to our school, I had basketball practice, and the DB coach, I was in the office with them and, telling them, hey, I can play, and he said when he watched the film, he always just seen my number, giving outstanding effort. And it wasn't even my highlight tape that he was watching. He was watching Levon, but he always seen me show up. And that's just effort. and want to. And then he came to the basketball practice. He asked me if I could dunk a basketball, and I told him I could. I dunked the ball. He walked out, and then the next day they sent me a certified letter and offered me a scholarship. So that's how I ended up at Iowa.
So effort, and then he took you in the gym and you showed him. You were able to show him the talent a little bit.
Athletic ability showed through.
And then on the film, he saw like this guy's always around the ball. He just knows what, you know what I'm saying. So like you talked about that effort earlier about, so that just paid off for you. You know, that effort. Yeah. So you went to Iowa and you ended up starting for 4 years. That's really impressive. Like, you know, to go to a Division I school and start for 4 years. How did you do it? Was it just talent that made you start, or what do you think it was?
I think it was my work ethic. You know, everybody at that level was talented. You know, what separated me from everybody else is my mental capacity of not ever wanting to lose. You know, I whether it was running a sprint, doing a drill, whatever the case may be, I was always first, and I always wanted to finish first. So I just kept going further and further as we went on, beating the odds, overcoming adversity. You know, when the stick in the road came up, I found a way to get around it. I never let it stop me and hold me back. You know, I had a lot of young players that came into Iowa with me that were supposed to be, you know, what I ended up becoming. But I never allowed that to waver me, not one bit. My roommate, actually, who's now the director of player personnel for the Packers, he was the guy that they labeled as, this is the next up and coming. And I just sat back and I watched what they thought. And I went out there and I took full advantage, because I went out there every day with the mentality that I wasn't going to lose. And they started to see me make play after play after play in practice, where they believed in me enough in my freshman year to say, you know what, if we're up by 35, we're going to throw him out there and see what he does. And then in those first 4 games, the second half of games, we be in blowouts, I go out there and make play after play after play. And
kind of like you did in high school. Like you did in high school, right?
Yeah. The track just continued to move, and I just kept making plays over and over and over again. So in the first 4 games my freshman year, playing the second half, I had 4 interceptions. So the 5th week, coach called us in the office. He said, hey, Johnson's going to start this week at corner. And I never looked back from there.
And that after that, you just started for the next 4 years, right? So, I mean, all the way back to your high school career, you were around the ball. College, you were around the ball. So you obviously had a knack for the game. You had a knack for the middle part of the game, and you possessed the physical gifts to do that. So that's pretty awesome. So for a Division I player, what's a typical day like? Maybe in the off season, or let's say during the year, during the season. What's a typical Tuesday or something like that? Like,
it's a full day's work. And I always, when I became a college coach, I tell a lot of the guys, like, listen, college football is not for everybody. Like, if you're not cut out for this, that's okay. But let somebody who really wants this opportunity take advantage of it, because it's not something for everybody. But a typical day is you're gonna work out at 5:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. And that workout's gonna last for about 2 hours. After that, you might go get some breakfast, and then you're in class from 8:30 to 1:30 p.m. And then after class, you're right back to the football facility. By 2:20, you dressed and ready in the meeting. And 2:30, that meeting start, and they go from 2:30 team meeting, position meetings to the field. And those meetings last about an hour and a half, going over game plan, install, you know, any type of thing they want to kind of see, and film, different things like that. And then you go out to the practice field. You'll practice for a solid 2 hours. And then after practice, you know, practice in 6 o'clock, 6:30. And then, you know, you back training table, get a little bit of dinner. We always ate together at training table. And then you got study hall. So from 8 to 10, you're in study hall.
So all day long, 5 to 10 o'clock at night.
It's an all-day affair. Like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts. The only way you can make it not an all-day affair is to excel in the classroom. And that'll cut out that last 2 hours of study tables. And you still there from 5 to 8 o'clock.
Now the study table, that's the only thing you have. Everything else is mandatory, right? You can't say, I don't want to go to this. I don't want to get up in the morning and lift weights.
Absolutely not. If you don't show up somebody else is going to show up, they're going to end up figuring a way to weed you out of the program. That's usually how it works.
Wow. So for anybody out there who wants to be a college football player, they really got to accept that commitment and know that, hey, this isn't just something, this isn't high school anymore, right? This is serious, like a job, basically. Almost.
Right. It's a full-time commitment, full-time job. That's where you earn your stripes for that scholarship they're giving you.
So tell me about, this really wasn't on the script, but like getting ready for, you guys are going to play Penn State or you guys are going to play Ohio State. What is that like getting ready for like a huge Iowa State, getting ready for a game like that? What is that like?
I mean, it gets ramped up, just because of the opponent, but they always teach us to stay even keel, just treat it as the next opponent on the schedule. So our coaching staff did a hell of a job of, just keeping us prepared for the moment, not allowing the moment to get bigger than what it was. And we won a lot of games because of that. We addressed every week as a 1-0 mentality. Like, we had to win the week. And, we put the work in throughout the week, whether that be in the film room, film study after practice, getting out to the field early to kind of go over some adjustments that we wanted to make, different things like that. But we learned a lot in the meeting room. That was probably one of the most beneficial times that I learned so much, being a student of the game, understanding leverage and assignment and attention to detail, where a guy lined up on the field, what routes can he run from there. All these different, cues that when they show up on the field on game day, you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen before it happens, and it allows you to play faster and make plays. So, those were some things that, helped us. But every week, we understood that it was going to be a tough opponent, no matter who we played, whether it was LSU, Ohio State, no matter what. We just took
one game at a time.
One game at a time, absolutely.
So during your career, when did you know, like, okay, like I could play at the next level? Now you're at the Division I level, which is the highest level of college football, and you were playing in the Big Ten, glorified, one of the greatest conferences of all time. When did you start to say, man, I'm going to play at the next level, or did that ever cross your mind, or?
It did. Going into my sophomore year, I didn't know what to expect. To be honest, I was just kind of, flying off of my athletic ability, and then I started to learn technique and things, and started to put it all together. My sophomore year was probably my best year at Iowa. I had 6 interceptions, and I led the country in pass breakups with 18. My coach always told me if I could catch the football, I would lead the league or the country in interceptions. But during that season, I was second team All Big Ten as a sophomore, and the only reason they had 4 safeties on first team All Big Ten. You had Bob Sanders, Stuart Swaggart, Will Allen from Ohio State, and then Chris Gamble. So I was like, it is what it is. I'm behind 4 guys that all went
right. They all went
NFL.
Pro. Right.
So I was only second in the country in interceptions to Sean Taylor. So it was like, I'm right up there with that next echelon of player. Maybe I could do this, and but that just fueled me even more. Like, I'm gonna continue to go out there and make plays and put up numbers, and maybe I get noticed, and eventually I did.
Right. So when you in 2011, so now you're in your pro career. You spent some time in the NFL. From like 2007 to 2018, I believe, you had a nice long pro career, both in the NFL and CFL. In 2011, you won the CFL's Defensive Player of the Year. You were the first defensive back in history of the CFL to ever do that. What did it take to get to that level where you were recognized as like the best defensive back or defensive player in the league? What did it take? What's the commitment to get to that level?
I mean, you just got to constantly put the work in. Like I said, we studied film together. We stayed after practice to work on some things. Just constantly putting the work in. Like, and as a pro, it's not expected that you just stay after practice or show up early. You got to do that stuff because you really want to. And for me, the driving factor was I never wanted to, let nobody say that I was going to be a failure. So, I wanted to show up early. I showed up before meetings. I was the first one in there watching film by myself, just kind of, taking myself through a mental preparation, knowing that the guy who lined up against me, what his strengths and weaknesses were, so that I could try to take advantage of that. And it worked for me, because when I got on the field, typically I knew what was going to happen before it happened. So it allowed me to make a lot of plays that I probably wouldn't have made if I didn't watch the film or study the details on that film. In 2011, I thought 2009 I had a better year than I did in 2011. But in 2011, defensively as a unit, we were really good. Like number one in all the categories, pass, whatever the case may be. Our front four was outstanding. They got after the quarterback, sacked the quarterback a lot. And then our linebackers helped me out. Like they, a bunch of times, them getting to the quarterback, making the quarterback throw errant throws, and I was just taking advantage of that miscue. So, for me, it was just one of those years where nothing could go wrong. And I was returning kicks as well, so I was a fan favorite that season. And two of my teammates actually were also up for the award. We all three of us got nominated because of the fans. I ended up getting the nod over the other two. But I told them at the award ceremony, if I could cut this trophy in threes and give those guys a part of it, I would, because honestly, they had outstanding years, probably better than me. Right. But again, because of the way with the fans and how genuine I was with them, they all wanted me to win.
Right. That's definitely a great accomplishment. So you kind of talked about this before, but just to go back, so when you were at the Division I level playing, everything was kind of charted out. Get up in the morning, go work out, training, breakfast, this, that. So you're saying at the pro level, you do that stuff on your own? The coaches don't make you do that stuff, or?
No, it's not. It's not at the pro level. There's no you have to be here, or nobody's holding your hand to go do what you're supposed to do. It's expected, and if you want to get paid and you want to get that second, third contract, you have to do what's required of you, and they're not going to hold your hand or baby you to get there. But we all worked hard. We all showed up. Some guys, there were guys that made a whole bunch of money that just kind of did whatever they wanted to do. Right. But ultimately, those guys' careers ended up short because they, thought they were bigger than the team. Right. And in pro, we need everybody from the top guy on the pedestal all the way down to the bottom.
Oh, okay. So when you were at the pro level, Jovon, to prepare yourself each week, want to talk about, you already kind of talked about this, but what are some things you did each week to prepare yourself? When were the games in the CFL league?
They're typically, they could be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It all depends on the schedule. Okay, so a Saturday night game, it's Monday. What does your week look like? Yeah, I typically would 2 days before the game get a massage, get stretched out. But during the week, film study, practice. Make sure I was eating the right things, taking care of my body, because in the pros, you get big physical guys that move at a blink of an eye that's hitting you, and you taking on that blunt force. So you just got to take care of your body and make sure mentally you are where you're supposed to be. Everybody at that level can play, so it's not about who's the better player. It's the guy who really is going to go out there and excel and be consistent.
Okay. So, Jovon, what are some of your keys to success? If you had to say 3 or 4 keys to success for people, what would those be?
Just being humble, being a team player, passionate about the game, discipline, always being dedicated to the sport, never cheat the game, put the work in, have an outstanding work ethic, and things will work in your favor.
And just a couple more questions here to wrap up. We're going to talk about the community a little bit, because I know you're big in the community. You care about the community, the area where you came from. How important is giving back to the community to you? How important is that?
It's important because I want to see these kids know that they can accomplish anything they put their mind to. Having somebody like myself, there's many people like me out there pushing these kids to overachieve. But knowing that they can accomplish the dream that they want to accomplish if they put the work in and believe in themselves. Staying the course, not getting pulled in by the wrong crowd, and just taking care of business every day. Be present in the classroom, be a student of the game, and dreams do come true.
Right. So if the community said, hey, Jovon, we want to, what's the best way that you feel you can help this community, like in the youth? What's the best way that the community you can be a benefit to the community?
I think, one thing I enjoyed when I was a kid was the centers, the centers at JFK, Martin Luther King, Booker T. Those were places that we felt comfortable and felt at home. Places like that where you can go play the game, you could, practice the game, you surround yourself with like-minded people. They challenge you to do homework, different, life skills that they taught us. But that was the thing that really kind of set us apart. I think bringing that back is something that we should consider. And we could create all the club sports we want and teach these kids how to get it done. I think that's probably where I want to go going forward with the community.
Okay. So what do you think is the state right now of our community? I mean, you see a lot of it's a lot of great things about Erie too, you know what I mean? But some of the kids are going down a path of violence, different things like that. What do you think is going to be some keys to changing that back to going in the right direction?
Just different mentors, different key members in the community, pointing these kids in the right direction, showing them that it's other things outside of being in the streets, different ways to be successful. But you just got to reel them in, grab a kid by the shirt, have a conversation with them, show them some tough love, tell them, you don't want to go down the path of being in and out of the system, making sure that they doing things right. You can never touch everybody. You can't reach everybody. Sometimes some kids are so far gone that, trying to talk to them and bring them back, it's difficult. But, at the same time, there's going to be some kids that listen to you that, want to accomplish something in life that light bulb's going to click at some point and they're going to start to get it. I was one of those kids. I wasn't always, the successful football player or this and that. I made some bad decisions myself, so I can't sit here and act like I'm perfect. But at the end of the day, I did take care of business and do the things that was necessary for me to accomplish the goals I had set for myself.
Right. So once again, we're here. We were here tonight with one of the greatest football players ever to come out of Erie, Pennsylvania, Jovon Johnson. He was a Pennsylvania All-Star, played in the world famous Big 33 game. He went on to Iowa University, where he's a 4-year starter. He was a 3-time All Big Ten player, freshman All-American. He also had a really great professional career, NFL and the Canadian League. In 2011, he was awarded the Most Outstanding Defensive Player of the Year of the league. Just want to finish up here with some, Jovon, if you want some final thoughts, something you want to say to the community, to the world. Jovon.
I mean, if I had a microphone, I could talk to all these different kids. I would tell them, understand that it's bigger than the game of football. My good friend Cliff Crosby says always more than football. But there's more to life than the game of football or basketball or whatever sport there is. Get out, network, meet people. You never know who's going to be the person that could take your life and put it in a place where you could be successful. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I always tell kids, raise your hand, ask a question. If you don't know, there's probably other kids that are sitting in the same room as you that don't know but are afraid to, raise their hand and ask a question. There's never such thing as a stupid question. And just continue to put the work in, dig deep, dream bigger, set yourself up for success. I mean, it's attainable, but you got to go out and go after it. Because if you never take a chance, a leap of faith, then you'll never know how far you can really go.
And with that, we're going to wrap this session up. We thank you, Jovon, for your time, man. It was really a pleasure to talk to you today, and good, just best wishes with everything you do, and helping the community, and let's do this thing, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.